Well, hello, this is Mark Laughlin with the Ambidextral Gunfighter. Going to do a field strip of the Desert Tech MDR, and I'm going to do it left and right-handed. Start off getting my nice Duraskin latexy gloves, keeping the chemicals off my hand and keep my oils of my hands off of the rifle. All right, the first step is, for me, is I'm going to get these ejection port covers off. Now with my latex gloves, I'm not going to be able to pull those off just with my thumbnail, which they've gotten loosened up enough to where I can do that, but I'll tear up my gloves. So here's the ejection side of the ejection port cover. The empty case just goes out that channel there, and it's thrown out that opening there. Other side, we have this is the ejection port cover that basically has a scissor jack. I'm not sure if I can actually push that hard enough to activate it. Not quite strong enough, but that's has a scissor jack. Basically it comes out and pushes the case over to the other side. So we have those two clear. Flip the rifle back over, and we have 3 takedown pins to remove. One here back at near the buttstock up in the darker area, and then 2 that are in the lower here and here. One here right by the magazine release, trigger guard magazine release. The pins are captive, so they just drive out to where they stop. Okay, you can see that I've got all 4 pins are poking out on this side. Now we can separate. Okay, you gotta get this pin out far enough. Now it has almost a AR feel here as far as upper and bottom pivoting. I think I should be able to pull this completely apart here if I get that pin backed out enough. There we go. Okay, so now we have the upper, still has the bolt carrier group inside, and here is our lower with our trigger mechanism. We have the trigger bar that runs the length of the lower, from here up at the trigger, back here to the trigger group. Now to get the bolt carrier group out, it's just a matter of sliding this whole tray here with the bolt carrier group and the recoil spring. Okay, now let's we'll break down the bolt carrier group. And this is very AR-like, and specifically with this pin here is very AR-10-like, at least like my Armalite's were. And so I'll just push this pin out, which has a little O-ring which helps it Helps it stay in place. I'll set that in the tray there so we don't lose it. Now the firing pin will fall out. And then to get the bolt head off, we just have to rotate this just like on an AR. Lift it out. So now we have this little locking device, which is basically, it goes in there and rotates in place, and then your firing pin runs right up through it. So that now it could, once the firing pin in it, it can't rotate and come out. Now we can pull the bolt head group out. And that is pretty much it for field stripping. Now for cleaning, I'm going to move the bolt head group parts aside here for a second. And we're going to focus just a little bit on the trigger group. So I'm just going to wipe this clean. If we have an air compressor, we could blow this out. I do have an air compressor, but I'm not going to bring it in for, I mean, it's really not, this isn't very dirty. This is only my second time field stripping this. So if anyone has any suggestions, be sure to comment, and I'll be glad to do an updated video with if there's any significant improvements to what I'm doing here. So I'm just wiping down the trigger group a little bit. I could blow it out, like I said, with a compressor. Get the sear nice and clean. So that all looks really good. You can also see why we've got this open here. We've got here's the mag button up by the trigger guard. So if I push that, you see it's actually actuating, kind of almost like the trigger bar that runs the length of the lower here, and it brings it back here to, let's see, or somewhere where I had this, well, back here to where it actually releases the mag and the mag well. By the way, while we're here, let's clean out the mag well, make sure there's no dirt and dust in there. And I'll actually push the button, clean the outside of it a bit with the button pushed. Check up here, one of our key lube points for making the mag release work well is right up here, this little V, where it's basically making it so we can make it ambidextrous. You can see that there. So we can go either direction and basically transfer a movement in either direction to moving the bar to the rear. It's pretty simple. Keep it simple. Okay, I think that's pretty clean there. We'll come back till we get to lubing. We'll put a little bit of lube on this and call it good. Okay, so now the bolt carrier group. Let's clean it up. And it's really not very dirty. That's the advantage of the piston driven action, is that it doesn't shit where it eats. Cleaned my BCM just the other day and it was a horrible mess. Forgotten how dirty they are. So I'm just wiping off this bolt head. If I had some pipe cleaners, I should have got me some pipe cleaners. I would go ahead and just run a pipe cleaner through the firing pin channel just to make sure it's clean, but I can look through it. It looks really nice and clean. Firing pin, just wipe it off. And it's still pretty clean as well. This is with the first time I field stripped this was after a few thousand, I think about 1,500 rounds. And this has only seen maybe 400 rounds since the last field strip. Okay, let's just clean off this as well. Make sure there's no powder residue on any of this stuff. Spring, get it nice and clean. Manual says not to mess with the spring unless you're a qualified gunsmith or Desert Tech technician. I think at some point I might declare myself a qualified gunsmith and just do it. But for today, it's in really clean. I'm surprised at how clean it is. Okay, so I'm declaring that complete. Let's go ahead and while we're here, wipe down our ejection port covers a little bit, get them residue out. And I'm just using a paper towel. I don't usually like to use paper towels because they do sometimes can leave a little bit of shredded paper behind. But the way I figure, if a rifle can't handle a little shredded paper, we've got some other issues. Yeah, it all feels pretty nice and clean. Let's see, let's just wipe off our little pin for securing the firing pin in place. Okay, so now let's lube this up a little bit. What I'm going to use is a couple things. Use a little Q-tip, dab of Sentry Solutions Tough Glide. I'm a dry lubricant. I like to run my weapons dry. This may or may not be recommended by the manufacturer. So let's start with here on the guide for the spring. Just get a little bit of lube in there. Let's get some of the ick out of there too. And just a little bit on there. Okay, I forget what that pin, that bolt retaining pin, I guess, that the firing pin runs through. Get lubed around that channel a bit. Shoulders, get the shoulders on this bolt. Need some lube. And it's just a little bit on there, just for a little rust prevention there. Okay, just wipe that off a little bit. I'm actually going to use my Tough Glide cloth. Just to finish wiping that down a bit, just to prevent it from rusting a bit. I don't think it's going to, but looks like they got a good coating on it. And we'll just give the spring a wipe. A little bit of this Tough Glide all over everything. So I declare the recoil spring assembly complete. Now let's work on the bolt head here. Let's see, just get a little bit around the shoulder here just to clean up these locking lugs and lubricate them. A lot of people like to run grease on those. I just like to keep it's cold in Wyoming sometimes, so grease sometimes gets really thick and fouls things up. So now I'm going to use the dry end of the Q-tip to kind of just wipe off any excess off that bolt face. I don't want any of this lubricant penetrating the primers or something and causing an issue there. And let's see, I guess we'll clean that out a bit. Wipe this off. Now just a general wipe with my tough cloth from Sentry Solutions. Declare that complete. A little wipe of my little firing pin retainer and the bolt retention thingy. And just a little wipe on the firing pin. Okay, so let's put these back together. Start with the bolt head. We have this channel here on the top of the bolt head. Make sure we got that good and lubed. Which, see, we got this piece here. We got the extractor basically is on the top of the bolt head because it's shoved. The cartridge case is shoved out one side or the other depending on how you have your panel set up. This is running on the bottom of it, I believe. We'll soon find out. Just like that. So, that to where you can see it. And the bolt head. That comes back. And now we can put our bolt head retaining pin in place. It's the rectangle on top of it is facing fore and aft. We're going to rotate that 90 degrees so it's running a thwart ship, so we can see that can slide forward and back. And now we can put the firing pin down through the back here. Let's see, right there. And our firing pin retention pin goes in right there. And just the O-ring kind of makes it snug up a little bit. Once it's inside the rifle, it's not going to come out though. So our complete bolt carrier group is done. Now I'm going to take my ejection port covers and just give them a wipe with the tough glide. Okay, we have the scissor mechanism, and so I'm gonna just do a little bit of lubing in there, not much. I mean, it's still in really good shape from last time I cleaned it. We'll just give a little wipe on everything there. And of course the little springy thing, help lube that up, make it easier to remove next time. And same thing on the ejection port side where it ejects out. And we'll just wipe that out a bit too, just to make sure it's good and clean. Now I use my tough cloth to just give it a good wipe overall. And just to be good, I'll kind of just wipe, make sure we get off any excess. Don't like any excess lube lingering. Just attracts dust. Of course, this stuff is going to dry. This is Sentry Solutions to dry, but you don't want even too much of that either. Okay, so our ejection port covers are done. Now we'll take our upper and we'll clean that out a bit. I'm going to start by just cleaning where the locking lugs lock up. I'm going to wipe that out a bit with a Q-tip. Clean out the channel. Use a paper towel so I can get the paper towel down in there. There we go. Some mass cleaning effort. Let's wipe out the two sides of this ejection port. Just find any debris and dirt and try to get it out. used to have like an AR bore brush thing that cleaned these locking lugs, but this really is in pretty good shape here. Pretty clean. Okay, now let's just spray a bit of this in there. And then I'll wipe it out. So first we'll start with the bore. This locking lugs in front of the chamber. Clean that out good. Now just kind of clean with the Q-tip, and then I'm going to run my Sentry Solutions Tough Cloth through there. Now I'm going to run this down in through there just to clean out any excess. Just wipe off some stuff. There we go. All right, so now we're ready to do, I'm going to run a bore snake through it. This is a 30 caliber bore snake because it's a .308 rifle. Like it's hanging up a little bit on the muzzle brake. There, you got to get it straight up and down. There we go. Okay, there's our snake tail. And so we'll pull it right through. So I'm pulling it through dry. I'm going to pull it through one more time. Okay. There's the tail of our snake. And we're coming through dry again. Now just a little bit of Sentry Solutions on the tail. And one more time through the bore with the bore snake. Okay, here's the tail of our snake with the little bit of light coating of Sentry Solutions. Just pull it through nice and easy. All right. I think now while I've got it taken down, I'm going to take this foreguard off and just kind of just wipe the muzzle down, just get it. Just a rust preventative coating, although I don't think it needs it. I think but I want to see what it looks like under there, so that's what we're going to do. I think it was a T25. All right. Not sure if I need to remove that all the way. It's both sides. And then we have a punch out pin here. We sometimes make a decent hammer. That's a captive pin as well. Yeah, so that just comes right off. Nice. So there we have, you notice I did not completely remove the torque screws on the foregrip. That leaves the metal backing plates for them in place. So it'll go on nice and easy next time. Captive takedown pin. Wipe this out just a little bit. Seems pretty decent. Use a Sentry solutions on the rag on the back side of these just to keep those metal plates good shape. Wipe the pin down with the Sentry Solutions rag. Wipe my quick detach sling mounts down with the Sentry Solutions rag. There we go. Foregrips ready. Now we'll just have the forward end of the muzzle. This is where you can actually see where you can start seeing the components where you can swap out these barrels and stuff. So I'm just gonna get a Sentry Solutions rag wipe of this hoe, all this exposed metal here that I've got with the up the front. And let's get a Q-tip and wipe out that awesome muzzle brake. That Voodoo Innovations, I think it's Voodoo Innovations muzzle brake. Put this over where it's more centered. There we go. Just wipe out the ports with some Sentry Solutions, a little rust preventative, a little bit of cleaning. And then just an overall wipe. All right, I'm gonna collar clean. And like a friend of mine who competes at Camp Perry, excellent marksman, says you don't want to clean the accuracy out of your rifle. So okay, let's see if we got this right. Looks like that tab maybe is rotated. Or no, they stay rotated. Okay. See the metal tabs. If you can see it back up in there. It's got a channel in the plastic that fits up in the lower, and the metal tabs, as you stay at a right angle, they're for retaining it in place. There we go. Okay, now we get my T25 torque wrench out here and just lightly snug these up. Definitely don't want to over torque those. I'm just holding it against plastic for grip, so you don't want to crack that. And now we work back with our lower, or with our bolt carrier groups next. Okay, so to get our bolt carrier group back in the rifle, we have these tabs on each end of the spring retainer thing here that have to fit right there. you kind of have two, looks like almost two, but it's the top, or when you have it upside down, it's this one near the top of the receiver. So that fits in there. Doesn't go up there, it goes down here. And then go. So shine a little light on the subject here. We can see there's our chamber, and this bolt head locks up into there. Looks all nice. Everything looks good. Now we're ready to put the lower back on. Oh, I do need to just do a little bit of just a little wipe in here, and let's get another Q-tip with just a little bit of lube on it to get that sear lubricated. Okay, so I'm gonna let the hammer free and then use my Q-tip with a little bit of lube on it just to get under there. Clean this out, clean it and lube it, and just overall kind of just make sure everything looks good in here. Just a little. Oh, and the other one is right up in here where the magazine release V thing is. Want that to function cleanly. And then I'll just kind of wipe with the tough cloth these metal transfer bars. Just give them a coating, and then just to make sure it's not a mess, kind of dry it off. All right, now I'm ready to knock this thing back together. We'll start with this forward pin. So we're kind of creating this pivot point here, kind of like the AR. Actually, let me kind of wipe those pins just a little, just to make sure they don't get any rust on them. All right. Start with the forward pin. Get it started in there a little bit. There we go. Okay, let's just lightly tap that sucker in place so it's locked in. Looks like our buttstock is dropped all the way in, so I can just push the rest of these pins in place, or tap them in place. Torx wrench hammer. And then finally the rear buttstock pin, and make sure the buttstock pad is locked in place. There we go. And we can do a function check at this point with the ejection port cover still on. Looks all good. Check for firing. All right. And just once again, kind of appreciate that reset. And then the trigger. Wow, that trigger is just amazing. It's just surprising how good it is. All right, now we're ready for the ejection port covers. And I'm setting it up again to eject out the right side. If you're primarily a left-hand shooter, you're gonna want to eject it out the other side. Actually, before I put the ejection port, let me put the scissor side on, and then I can kind of show you how this what it looks like. Okay. So here's the scissor jack, I call it, scissor jack side. So it's going to push the case from this side out the right hand side. Now what happens is, let's get that to where you can see that on the video. I can work the action. If you can see like the scissor jack thing that's extended out, and it would be pushing the case over to this side. And then once the bolt goes back forward, it's going to drive that case out this ejection port's channel. Okay, so to put this other ejection port on, I do need to drop the bolt back down first. So do that gently. And now we can have both ejection port covers on. And for a final function check. All right, and that, my friends, is a field strip and cleaning of the MDR, the Desert Tech MDR. This is one's in 308, but 556 will be the same. So this is Mark Laughlin with the Ambidextral Gunfighter, doing the field stripping of the Desert Tech MDR. Thanks for watching the video. Please like, share, and subscribe. And if you haven't yet, please check out the other videos I have. I have lots of videos on the MDR or working up to the MDR. I have a series of videos called the Ambidextral Gunfighter that explains 1, why to become ambidextrous, 2, how to become ambidextrous, 3, what kind of equipment the ambidextral gunfighter needs, what are his needs in regards to the rifle, and then finally a review of the Desert Tech MDR. So definitely I hope you'll check that out. If you found this video useful, please check out the other videos I have as well. I also have a series of videos called Appleseed Prep. It's videos on how to prepare to attend a Project Appleseed Rifle Marksmanship Clinic, which are very affordable, highly recommended, and you can go to one of those clinics and get the score, and you'll earn yourself a rifleman patch. And then I also have a series of videos called Carrying for Self-Defense. It's for handguns, and again, it's from the ambidextrous perspective. Covers some kind of controversial things, so check it out. I cover, one, of course, the ambidextrous use of a handgun, and then I also, once you become ambidextrous with a handgun, I advocate that your primary deployment of a handgun should be left hand. And so maybe you wonder why I would advocate that. Check out the series and find out. It's Mark Laughlin, Ambidextral Gunfighter, www.ambgun.com. Thanks for watching.